Hello and welcome to a very ad hoc version of the Monday Club / Judgment Day / just get together for the Bhoycie Bus with me, Marc Cairney, Donald Trump's favourite neighbour, Pam, and of course Mick. First of all, how are you doing, guys? Welcome aboard.
I'm all good, mate. Been looking forward to getting back on, and obviously we've got a lot to discuss after yesterday, so should be interesting.
Brilliant. What about you, Pam? How's things with you?
Well, before you caught me off guard with that, I'm very good, thanks. And yeah, looking forward to talking about what happened yesterday. I didn't get to see the match, to be honest, because I've already done one pay-per-view last month, so I thought that's my limit. But I did see that press conference afterwards, and so looking forward to talking about that.
Well, first of all, like, share, subscribe. I don't know what else gets said. Bus 1888 for your pies at piesports.com. There's always new flavours coming out. And just quickly on your point about the pay-per-view, Pam, Celtic tonight announced half-price pay-per-view for Wednesday's match to kind of make up for the scandal that happened. I think it was a kind of power cut in the area. I'm in Rutherglen, and I was assured that our house had a power cut too. So Celtic's backup generators kind of did save the match. Although I was worried that there wasn't enough... I thought the game might have been called off because there was no PA system. I thought health and safety might have called the game off, but thankfully that wasn't the case. Right, okay, I think we should get on to yesterday's match. I mean, I've not been on for 2 weeks now. Luckily, I missed all the carry on after the Glasgow derby. I mean, the least said about that, the better. Yesterday's match was kind of like I don't know, for me it was a bit like a 0-0 match. It turned into a 3-0 at Celtic. It was a bit of a bore fest. I could hear the players shout from my seat and up at the cause in the Jockstein stand. So first of all, just get your just quick views on yesterday's match for what you saw, Pam, first of all, if that's all right.
Well, I saw very little of it, to be honest. I just took a look at some of the highlights. But, I saw the same old. That's been kind of... I feel it's been creeping in the past few matches this season, is the trend of the backwards pass. And I know that was a contentious point in the press conference, but it sadly started to weave its way back into the game. So to be honest, once I was seeing that, I was kind of just done.
Yeah.
So, but there were some good goals. There was a good corner, I believe, and that led to a goal. But at that stage, I was honestly just so raging because I felt like we've been slipping past. So I'll be fully honest with you, Mark. No.
Well, to be honest, Pam, I think you're probably the lucky one because I watched the game from the coldest area in the stadium, the upper stand, and it just felt a bit like a snooze fest. I'm not going to lie to you. As I say, it was 0-0. It turned out 3-0, so you're happy with the score. I don't think any player had a bad game, to be honest with you. I think it was just one of those kind of like performances that you trudge out every now and again, and these wins win you a championship. So no complaints from me in terms of the victory. You can't expect the players to be on it every single week. But we got there and end up. Mick, what about you, mate? How was your thoughts on the game, first of all, before we go into the People's Prince, Brendan Rodgers?
As you said, mate, it was a slog once. It was one of those ones you just want to kind of chalk it off, get the 3 points and get it out of the road. I don't think any point we played well. With the slow and laboured for the first maybe 20 minutes, and they seemed to have dropped the pace. I mean, just keeping the ball going side to side and everything. But I think it was always going to be difficult because Mirren were always going to sit back and sit deep. Right. So it was just kind of to up the pace and try and break them down, get in behind them. But it took us long enough to even create a chance.
Yeah.
And once Cairn gets the goal, then it started to open up a bit better. But the first half an hour, you said, Mark, it was that put you to sleep, really, isn't it?
Well, this is it. I mean, I know we're going to go into Brendan Rodgers' comments, and I think they need addressed. We can't just, laud the players and laud the manager at all times. I think if something's contentious, I think it's within our rights to speak about it. But I did feel like the first maybe 20, 35 minutes, it wasn't try to find new avenues, as Brendan Rodgers said in his press conference. I thought it was just lackadaisical football. I didn't see anything new. It was side to side, and it was going on to certain players' feet just for the sake of it. I mean, there was moments when Carter Vickers, I'm pretty sure, was trying to play 1-2s with Schmeichel as much as possible. And every time he went to the centre backs, it was going backwards. Arthur Johnson had a bit of a nightmare in the first half as well, in my opinion. Greg Taylor don't think he had a bad game at all. But it just seemed to be that any time the ball was in the centre of the park, it was the first choice was always going backwards, which isn't a bad thing to control the game, but when it's passing for passing's sake, sometimes that's what annoys me. And I just felt yesterday that there was groans, none more so than a normal match day. In fact, I think the atmosphere yesterday was very, like pre-season-esque. You know what I mean? I found it very flat. It was really flat, and so I don't. That's how I was a bit shocked about the manager's comments at full time about the groans about the back passes. I mean, it was as sombre as you like yesterday. There wasn't very many moans and groans for the stadium at all. I don't feel like I feel like this has been coming to a head for the manager. I don't know if he's been sitting on this for a while. I come back for the game and I was shocked when I read the comments. I seen the comments. And a chance to digest it today, and I've watched it again on YouTube and watched his full presser, and it's more reflective when you see the full interview rather than snippets and edits and cuts that some of these media in Scotland, these hacks in Scotland, like to show you to create a picture. But there was no dressing it up. I thought the manager's comments were they were quite infuriating. I think the minute he sat down, he had a bee in his bonnet. He was just waiting for the opportunity to snipe the Celtic fans. You know what I mean? And I think he set himself back 12 months in terms of how to a certain section of the fans and his own relationship. That had calmed out. That water had calmed out. Celtic fans were right behind Brendan Rodgers, and I think you got to have a team, a fan base, and a management all going the same direction. We don't need soap operas and side stories, and we don't need anything like that. And I thought that was something that was created for no reason whatsoever. The Green Brigade, I'm going to assume, singing about Kieran Tierney. They're excited. We're all excited about the prospect of signing, in my opinion, a bona fide world-class football player. I'm not exaggerating. I think this guy on his day is world-class. In my opinion, I might be up in the clouds saying that, but why should I not be? I'm excited about it. These guys are singing songs, and it wasn't a personal attack on Greg Taylor. Far from it. It was merely a excitement about the Celtic moving forward as a club. I mean, we're always hearing about Celtic moving forward and spending money in the right places, and now we're beginning to see it. The Celtic fans are getting right on board with it. And I don't think that was called for from the manager. And to have a go at the fans for the moans and groans that he mentioned, and how we're uneducated at football, and trust the manager. Sorry, Brendan, I think I'll leave my trust to somebody that didn't fuck off in February. Thanks very much. And on that note, I think we should add. Yesterday there was empty seats in the stand. I think a lot of that was because of travel arrangements were cancelled from Ireland. There was also travel warnings put across in England, only to travel when it was safe and necessary. So there's folk literally risking their lives travelling 10, 12 hours on a bus for London up to Celtic Park last night. And that happens. There's supporters clubs over England in the snow, motorways, treacherous stuff, to sit in the freezing cold and watch some of the most turgid football you've seen in a long time. After Christmas, days after New Year, folk getting back to work this morning, and the folk that crawled out their bed and went to that game last night in the conditions. For a manager to come out and tell us all that he doesn't need our support when it's 3-0 up, he needs our support when it's not an each, and telling us how to support the club. And I just thought it was uncalled for. It was badly timed. It was poorly executed. I don't need anybody to tell me how to support Celtic. I don't need it for somebody who rewarded the fans' loyalty by walking out in February. Now, I know we shouldn't bring up something that happened in 2019, as I'm told on Twitter earlier on. But I'm sorry, but it does matter. It does matter, because you can't have it both ways, Brendan. You can't sit and tell the press that we've got one of the best fans in the world. You can't sit there and tell a player when he's trying to sign, you'll love it here. These are the most passionate fans in the world. They're so in tune with the Celtic support, with the Celtic players. They're galvanised every single week, and they're all going for the one cause. You can't say all that to a player and sell the club as a 24-hour institution and then get upset when the Celtic fans on the clapping back passes. I'm sorry. It doesn't work that way, Brendan Rodgers. You know what I mean? You get a fan base who watched one of the worst performances in the Glasgow Derby in terms of commitment and effort on Thursday, and then followed up by some of the most turgid stuff you've seen in a while. There was no boos. There was no singling out certain players. None of that was happening. None of that was happening at all. It was the Celtic fans sitting on their hands, sighing at times, watching some pretty awful stuff, to be quite honest with you. And I just very quickly again, I just don't think anybody, any manager, any employee of this club should sit there and slate their customer base or their fan base the way he did, and the angry manner in what he did. And for me in particular, I just felt so let down by the guy. I've been up and down with him since he come back. You know, I've been one of his biggest fans and one of his biggest critics. Never questioned the guy's ability, not very often at all. But I don't need somebody else to tell me how to support Celtic. And I was just infuriated last night and this morning with somebody, as I said, who fucked off in the middle of the night, having already got his suit measured to go to Leicester City on a Monday morning, and the Celtic fans were left in the lurch. I just don't think he's got the place. He don't he's got the right. I think he should just go back into the dressing room, speak to the players, slag the fans all you want. Don't do it in public. Don't give the gutter press in this country anything to feed off it. That's just my thoughts on it. Quite incredulous, to be quite honest with you. I'll just get yours first of all, Pam. What was your thoughts initially on his comments on the fans, and also his kind of, you know, poorly
just overall demeanour as well.
Yeah, I think his stuff with Greg Taylor was poorly judged. And what's your comments on it too, pal?
I just think it was all just a fucking car crash. I mean,
yeah.
My first thought was, this is just getting offended for offended's sake. Like, this is making a mountain out of a molehill. And then when I had time to digest it more, that's when I started to get angry. Because it's like, who the fuck do you think you are to, you know, call me a proper supporter or not? And I think a lot of this has, you know, fed into, you know, some people online saying I'm not a legitimate supporter because I've never been to Parkhead. And it's like, well, if you think so, buy me my flight ticket there. You know, it's not realistic, unfortunately. So I think it's a lot of these comments. And unfortunately, I have seen some people who have sided with Brendan bring up comments like that. Oh, if you probably don't pay for your Celtic TV subscription. Oh, you have no interest in going there. You have no interest in seeing the team do well.
Is that really what being a Celtic fan is all about? I mean, yourself and Liam just very quickly got up at 3-4 in the morning and walk. Sometimes having to commute to get to a pub to watch a Celtic match. That's commitment in itself. So how much you pay, where you watch it, and how you watch it into the issue. How did you feel as a Celtic supporter, given the vast majority of your day chatting and thinking about Celtic? How did you feel that he kind of kicked you in the mouth, basically? How did you feel about that, or did you feel like it was justified?
No, it was not justified, and you know, it wasn't justified at all, in my opinion. And you're right, Mark. You know, for some of the early kickoff Glasgow Derby, so like 11:30 your time, I'm up at 5:30 just to watch it. And I'm not a morning person. If you know me, you know I'm a grumpy bitch in the morning. So, you know, I'm getting an Uber, I'm getting the bus, I'm getting the metro to the pub, which is in another state. You know, it's about a 25 minute drive. You know, it is. There is commitment. Look, I'm not going to say I'm a bigger fan than anybody, because that whole notion is bullshit. Yeah. No. But don't say I'm not a fan because of my physical location. No. You know, I've paid for my Celtic TV subscription through when I was a student in this country. When I was broke as hell, I was paying that subscription. I bought a jersey. I bought Celtic-themed Christmas presents for friends and family. So nobody can say I'm a fan or not. I just don't give a shit. But yeah, so a lot of that kind of, you know, brought up that anger, because it's like, you know, I will criticize when a team isn't doing well. And when I see all that fucking back passing, which I've said in the chat, that is the bane. Like, it's not even a Celtic thing. When Arsenal do it or when AS Roma do it, I'm raging. I just hate back passing. I absolutely hate it. And, I will say...
It's okay, Pam, it's okay if you see, like, where it's coming from and where it's going.
Yeah.
If it's back passing just for the sake of back passing,
yes.
It's back passing instead of forward thinking, then...
That's exactly it.
And it becomes a theme. You do get a bit annoyed with it. It isn't back passing because an avenue is blocked. It's because the player isn't able to take the opportunity to pass.
Exactly.
Or the players have been too slow to react. But we've seen that quite a lot yesterday.
And when it's making up a sizable portion of our possession as well, that's when I get angry. It's like, okay, if you have to do it once or twice, like every 5-10 minutes, I get it. It's the nature of the game. But so, yeah, I will criticize. And, to be fair, I have given this team a lot of praise when they've earned it too. I really have. It's both ways, And, for some people that will say, oh, if you criticize, you're not a true fan. Well, I believe, legitimate criticism, it's not only right, but it's what's needed to grow, not just for Celtic, but for your life in general. You ultimately have to do that. So I will not stop doing that. And then I guess when I heard those comments, like, my thoughts were like, if you're trying to negatively portray fans expressing a bit of discontentment with how you're playing, that's fucking censorship. Like, that was my first thought, was like, are you trying to run like a fucking police state where you're trying to control what the fans can say and do?
Mm-hmm.
This is football, for God's sake. You should look at some of the sports over here and listen to what some of the fans are saying when their teams aren't doing well, and then you'll think you'll have it good. It's just, I think it's such a mountain out of a molehill.
I think sometimes the Celtic fan base can be wrongly accused of being spoiled and being, bratty. I think the Celtic manager was spoiled and bratty yesterday if he thinks that Celtic fans moaning and groaning was some sort of window for him to crawl out and start slagging as well. I thought it was untimed and uncalled for. And just Mick, you as well, mate. You were at a game with myself, mate, in the freezing cold. One of the coldest nights of the days of the year, it felt like. And how did you feel when you eventually got the comments after the match? Did you feel like it was justified, and did you feel like the crowd were on Celtic's back at all yesterday?
No, I didn't think it was anything bad at all. Honestly, I never noticed anything. Like, no. I didn't think it was folk were getting too restless or too impatient with the team. I just thought it was one of the games, but get the 3 points, get it done, and that's it. Chalk it off. But I saw somebody text me what he said after it, that I was coming back for the game, and he was like, surely that's not right. Mm-hmm. Like, something must be mistaken here, right? Or take it out of context or something. But then I actually listened to the Clyde one, the actual excerpt of it, and I was like, Jesus, he's actually having a go here. Like, he's angry about it. He's angry having a go at the fans. I was like you said, Mark, I was like, hold on a minute. Who are you to tell folk like us how to support a team? Like, what qualifies you to think you're a better fan than, no, I'm saying he's a fan, obviously, but to tell us how to support a team, right? I was like, no, that's a brass neck in itself. Mm-hmm. Again, he's having a go at the same people, like I said, Pam, Liam as well, right? We were all still there supporting the team when he buggered off in February. We were still watching the team or being there week in, week out when he was down picking up his money in Leicester because he didn't fancy it as much anymore. Mm-hmm. So no, don't have a go at us. We're the ones who do support the team, and the club does mean something to us. It's not just a job, a jolly up here because he was a Celtic fan once when he was younger.
Well, he's never sat in the stands or sat at night biting his nails about the match tomorrow. He's never had to make a decision to have a family holiday or buy the season tickets. He's never had to make a decision whether to go to a Celtic match on Saturday with his kids or take them somewhere nice for a holiday or whatever. He's never had to make these life decisions. Celtic fans, like most support in the world, they give up a lot of liberties just to go and watch Celtic, and that includes just putting a scarf on and the criminalised nature. You get treated with disrespect the minute you walk out your house with a Celtic scarf on. Kettled into stadiums and pushed and grabbed for police and served the most disgusting food for £11 a burger at Celtic Park and ripped off and lose all your consumer rights, you name it. We accept that and moan about it every now and again, but we accept the fact that that's just been part of being a Celtic fan, Mick. And I just felt yesterday, you're standing there and they called me and had a few pints after it, and you must have been scratching your head wondering where the comments came from, because that didn't happen overnight. That's something that's been brewing in that guy's head, I think. What do you think?
Do you know what, exactly, Mark? And do you know what annoyed me? He brought up the Bruges game, right, as an example.
Yeah.
Bruges at home was 2 months ago. So why do I talk about after that game and have those criticisms? Why is he?
That's the thing, mate. Like, I don't mind if he walks into the dressing room and the players just slag his support. They call us. I know for a fact that the players will go in the dressing room and go, "Don't listen to the dicks up there." That's fine. It's, you go to your work, mate. You go to your work. You don't sit there and tell your customers that you can't be fucked with them anymore. You don't tell them that they're a pain in the arse. You leave that for the staff room, okay? And he after the match went up the tunnel himself with Greg Taylor. I think Greg Taylor had a sore face, so I'll give Greg Taylor a bio on this. He, after the match, decided to go to up the tunnel. So he came in 2016. It became a ritual for Celtic managers to go out and clap the support every match ever since, right? Apart from during COVID, with no fans there. And yesterday was the first time that he's refused to do that, right? So what happens on Wednesday night? Does he then decide that it's okay for us to adore him again, and we can sit and applaud him? No. It's okay to get the adulation on Wednesday night after the match. I think he's opened up a potential banana skin for himself on Wednesday night, because he can't just walk out of the section of the stadium who I think he's having a go at, not for the first time, and expect the adulation. He can't pick and choose when the adulation comes, Mick. Pam, you know what I mean? He can't just pick and choose, I'm going to go up the tunnel and ignore the fans, because it mentions disrespect. I think disrespect is to tell every single supporter in that stadium that because you're annoyed at a song, or you're annoyed at a certain section of the support for grumbling, that you won't come out and thank the full stadium for coming out on a Sunday night, the eve before the kids go back to school, when parents are busy, and the heat of winter, and the absolute freezing cold, which is Glasgow just now, travelling in the icy conditions, for him to purposely ignore the people and go up the tunnel, it was a major fuck you to the Celtic fans. I don't care who you are. There was a comment a minute ago, I can't find it because I can barely see. Saying we're acting like Huns. Listen, I don't care what you think for acting like Huns. See, I don't need anybody to give me an okay to have my opinion. I don't need you to tell me that I'm acting like a Hun. I just don't need it, right? This is my opinion. This is Pam and Mick's opinion, right? You can think we're acting like Huns all you want. That's fine, no bother, right? But I think acting like a Hun is kid on everything's all right when it's no. That's what Huns do. They walk about with their eyes closed and fingers in their ears. There was a problem caused by the manager yesterday for no reason whatsoever. He came out of the game, calmed himself down. He then went to BBC Scotland, then Radio Clyde, and then went to the written press and still didn't change his attitude. He knew fine well the information he was giving the support and media. This is a gutter press in Scotland who can't wait to put something on the back of Celtic fans, on Celtic as a club, and put a taint on it. And the news yesterday should have been brilliant. Rangers have dropped 2 points again. Let's chuckle at them and enjoy a very, very boring game of football at Celtic. But he managed to turn into something that's annoyed half the support. Now, you can never annoy everybody, because there's always sycophants in the support, and there's always folk that think when you mention something that's negative that you're a Hun. I think the other problem within the Celtic support, because honestly, I think they're the biggest problem within their fan base, is the ones who don't want to say anything in case the Huns laugh at it. There's something wrong with these people, in my opinion. Yeah. That's up to them. They can do what they want. But just quickly moving on for that, because I think we could talk about that all night. And I'll just say one thing. I think anybody that watches Celtic, pays to watch Celtic, or whether you listen to on the radio, you've all got your opinion on Celtic as a football club, you know what I mean? And we don't need somebody who sees Celtic nothing other than a stepping stone. Nothing other than a stepping stone. That's all we are to ask this guy. You ask Danny McGrain about him telling porky pies and winding up Celtic fans to sell books. nope, no thanks, Brendan Rodgers. I think I'll just keep my support at Celtic and just keep you separate. You keep your opinions to yourself, and that'll do me. Just moving on for that, because I think I could go on another rant about him. I'll keep the man and his comments separate. The man and the manager, I love. His comments, nah. Right, just quickly, your thoughts on, I'll probably not speak to you, I'll be on the Thursday, but your thoughts on Wednesday's game, another home match against Dundee United. Again, we chance for a bit of revenge. Mick, what do you think of that?
The game should take care of itself. I think folk were overboard when we dropped points at Tannadice. It was a massive overreaction to that. We had players down and everything. Again, it was literally a couple of days before Christmas, and that's not been notoriously a hard ground for us anyway, Tannadice. So we've dropped points there several times before, but the game on Wednesday, see if we turn up and play the football we can play, we're capable of, go out and obviously start strongly and quickly, then it shouldn't pose much problem. Again, but it's just that time of year. That's the thing, Mark, right? We can accept no subpar performances, but the team will never play drop off sometimes at this time of year, right? It happens. See if we keep winning. Nobody's bothered, right? So the Wednesday night could be another game like that, right? Obviously, you hope we're going to come out, turn up, fast pace, get an early goal, and then kick on from there, right? But like as you said, mate, like it's. But actually thinking about it now, like, is he going to, like you said, what's his attitude going to be towards the fans? Like, if there is a backward pass, right, or the team are playing slowly, maybe, don't be wrong, I'm not particularly one for moaning at the games, right? It doesn't do it to me, but if a game people, I know that's what I'm saying, right? But people, if they wanted to say, like, come on, up the game, is that going to be an issue now with him?
Well, I think he's causing an issue, Mick. I think he's absolutely caused. Are you going to be in slight trepidation about commenting at the match? Are you going to be worried about? Is there going to be folk behind you or beside you, in front of you, looking at you if you make a grumble? You know, is this a new thing he's going to create? And then at full time, it can be very interesting because for me, if he decides to walk up to today's lap of honour and get his roses flung at him, the people's prince, Brendan Rodgers, if he's going to sit and enjoy that adulation, is that only reserved for when he wants it, or is that supposed to be every single match? Because if the fear is that we upset this guy and he goes him up the tunnel without saying goodbye to the fans every week, then for me, I'd rather he just sit in the dugout and then left the stadium via the back door every match. I don't want to hear anybody tell me how to support the fan base, how to support the team. And to be quite honest with you, I don't really think that other than getting the adulation that Brendan Rodgers likes, the fact that he's a manager of a football team that comes under so much scrutiny. And what about you, Pam? Any changes to the starting 11 for Wednesday night? Would you bring back Kyogo? Because for me, I think he didn't take his chance the other day there. I think a couple of players didn't show up too well. But is there anybody that you'd bring in or anybody you'd drop for Wednesday's match against Dundee United?
I think the main change I would make was actually bring Kyogo on. I know we don't want to bring up the derby, but he was the only one that really made a goal chance. Unfortunately, the goal he was unlucky to be offside for. He receives long balls pretty well, and I think that's how we should play more. Especially if we have more trepidation, against like teams' midfield lineup, we should aim just to have more long balls. And I think Kyogo's more receptive to those. So I think that'll be the main change. I would also keep Trusty as well. He's been really impressing me so far. Him and CCV, they're the American boys. They're doing very well. So
we had the new chant. It's a bit cringy. I had to go and go into a wee sitting a dark room to listen to that song. I thought that was really cringy. But Celtic's football fans, they make up cringy songs, to be quite honest with you. But so you bring in Kyogo for Ida. Is there anything that you think Ida's lacking, or does Kyogo just offer more for you in general?
It's very difficult to compare them both because they're like apples and oranges. I think it depends on the nature of the opposition. So if you have bigger, more physical players, that's when you bring Ida in because he's more physical. He can kind of toughen up to that more than Kyogo. Kyogo's definitely more graceful. He's he's kind of like more he's a few more graceful with his movements. He can spot balls very well.
A bit more polished as well, would you say?
A bit more polished, exactly. A bit more free-flowing too. It's very nice to watch when he scores, when he gets his cue goals. They're like a work of beauty to watch, to be honest. But that being said, he can be a bit more fragile physically. He just doesn't really stand up as well as Ida does. So it depends on the makeup of the players. But, they both bring something unique to the table. And part of me is thinking, like, why can't we just experiment with having both on at the same time? I think that'd be a really cool thing to look at. But, I don't think Brendan wants to change what he has. So
no, it's interesting because his last season, I think we started the first maybe 6-7 weeks and we had a dynamic Edouard and Dembele together, and it looked really exciting. Then I think Edouard got injured, or maybe Dembele got injured, and then he left, and then I always had it in my head that was a plan for Rodgers. He did see that as something that he could do. My worry is when you bring two strikers on the park, what has to give? Are we giving up a midfielder? Are we taking Maid out of the equation? Is Kuhn the only winger? Is Carl McGregor dropping into an 8 and we're not going in for 6? What's happening? So there's always something has to give, and these things happen. Unfortunately,
and our midfield is already weak enough that we cannot give from now. I wouldn't feel confident giving from the defence either, to be honest.
No, it's an interesting point. And I was just going to ask Mick next, actually. In terms of the defence, Mick, would you forget about the sideshow that was yesterday? Would you bring in Alex Vai, or is that ship sailed in terms of him and his Celtic career with the stuff with Barcelona always on the horizon? Or would you keep Greg Taylor at least his jersey until the prodigal son Kieran Tierney returns? What's your thoughts on that?
I would personally play Vai, mate. Honestly, I just think he's a better player and he's better going forward. He wants to get to the byline a lot more, so he opens the game up for us a lot more. I think don't get wrong, I actually quite like Taylor, right? But see when he does, he comes in field quite a lot. It clogs up the midfield. Everything becomes too narrow.
Yeah.
So you get Vi in the team. He tries to get to the byline, just like a traditional overlap fullback. He helps Maeda as well. Maeda's got something to play off as well. So I just think it opens the game up for us a lot better. We're playing more expansive than that when he's in the team. The same way with Johnson does on the right, we couldn't. I don't see why we couldn't do that on the left-hand side, which Vi could give us if he gets the run of games, I think. But in terms of the defence, definitely Trusty. Trusty's got to stay in, I think. Like, Ship sailed with skills, I think. He's always been a good squad player, and I like him, but it's just it slows the game down too much, I think, in the minute.
I think this is my 2 cents on the Trusty Scales scenario. I feel like Rodgers is very keen to reward players that are playing well, and I think Scales, when he stepped in at Hampden, things did change in the second half, and he didn't do anything that deserved to get his shirt took off him. Now he has. For me, now it's Trusty's shirt. You know what I mean? And there's certain players who will play no matter what. And Carter Vickers, I don't think anybody can compare that guy's quality. Schmeichel's the same. Potentially Carl McGregor, I think he's untouchable. And then there's players who have become undroppable, like Nicholas Kuhn, who's just over and above anything else we've got. But these positions that are up for grabs week in, week out, I feel like when Celtic are making changes and we're giving Eden a chance for Kyogo, it's not working, but straight away they're dropped again. No, I don't think, and whereas I think Kyogo is maybe getting 4, 5, 6 games to make it to get it right. Ida's getting maybe 1 game. It's not working because he's rusty or he's playing against a low block. He can't get in behind. He's not his type of game. And then he's dropped again. I heard Terry mention it the other day there, and he's saying that he thinks that Ida will be dropped for the next match. And I agree with him. And I don't think it's just based on that one performance. I just feel like there's players that will get a chance, but when they let you down, they're dropped straight away. But there's players who get a chance, then they're given a chance. And I don't feel like this is going to be a case like Engels, who will play pretty poorly, be dropped, and then given another chance. I feel like Ida will be only given a chance when it's become obvious that Kyogo's really out of form or he's injured or whatever. And then the minute he's not doing it straight away, he's dropped. There's there's been times where I've watched Adam Ida and I think he's won a raffle. But there's been other times that you watched Ida and he's linking up the play well. He's bringing in the wide players. He's got a nice wee touch about him. He's looking like he could score a goal. And I think the most players that are on the fringes, that isn't a charity, as I always say. You need to take your chances at Celtic. That you can't just get the charity just because you're in the club. You've got to take your opportunities. But there's also an argument to be saying where guys will only thrive given a proper opportunity. And I don't feel like there's some players that are getting that opportunity. I do genuinely feel that there's somebody in McGowan, for talking sake, who I think can be a future starting 11 player every week. I think there's something in that boy. I've liked him since he's at Dundee. But I feel like he'll get a start. He'll play 7 out of 10, nothing exciting, just 7 out of 10. But the next match, if he's not on it, he's dropped and he's on the bench for another month, And whereas I think guys like Hatate, who's probably playing on his form under Ange, still getting a game every week, but it takes him 7, 8, 9, 10 bad performances to get dropped, And I think the defence is, I think probably Trusty and Scales is probably the only area of the park that I feel like there's a proper rotation there. It's you're playing good, you're in. If you're playing bad, you're out again, and somebody's back in again. And I feel like in the Wednesday night's an opportunity for Celtic, home against Dundee United, Wednesday night under the lights. It's an opportunity to maybe bring in some players who haven't seen a lot of, you know what I mean? But also for the manager to make a statement that last week against Rangers wasn't something that we can accept. We can't accept Hatate's performance or Scales' performance, or at times Maeda. He's having that. In terms of his numbers, he scored something like 13 goals this season. He's got 10 assists. You can't do better than that as a winger. He's performing really well, but he's out of form. And this is the time we should be having somebody who can come in and maybe, give Maeda, a refocus. You know what I mean? And we've not got that for Wednesday night, but I do feel like there's options in the park. I do feel like there is room for like a Ralston to come in. There is room for Ida to get a second start in a row, for talking sake, and there is room to stick with this Engels, McGregor and McGowan situation, or bring in maybe Bernardo instead. But give these some of the guys who are maybe not lit it up when they're getting starts a couple of games. I don't think that's been happening a lot under Brendan Rodgers. I feel like it's squad management, but he's only managing certain players. He's not bringing in players and giving them 4 or 5 games, 3 or 4 games. He's just dropping players for a rest, and it's willy-nilly. In my opinion, I feel like he could be doing it a bit more, fairer in terms of the players that are coming in and performing well, like McGowan, who is now impacting games off the bench. But when he's starting, he's not been that great, so he's dropped straight away. I just feel like a bit more, a chance for guys like that rather than just dropping them straight away. January the window, tell a wee conversation about that if he's one. Right, we all know Cairney going to come in. I think left back's a position that we all know is a position that needs to be needing filled for 4 years now. Is Greg Taylor's done really well for Celtic. Let's not slag him too much, but we're needing some cover there at least, and maybe an improvement. And I think we will get that with Cairney. I think he'll provide that missing piece of the puzzle in the bigger matches, that somebody who can defend well but also go forward well, and I think he can do that. But for me, I think there's positions all over the park that we can improve on. Pam, what about you? What's the position that you feel is key for Celtic this January, or is left back the only one that you think's necessary?
No, I also, left back is a priority, obviously, but I also think we could do better on the right back as well. I think we need a backup for Alistair Johnston. Mm-hmm. I like him, don't get me wrong, but for me, I notice a good difference when Tony Ralston comes on for Alistair Johnston. He's not as attacking in his playing style. Sorry, Mark. It's AJ. He seems to be a bit more versatile between defending and attacking.
Yeah.
And, you know, he does work well with Nicholas Kuhn, but he's not afraid to get physical as well, which is a trait that you really need in a defender. I used to play as a defender in field hockey, and like, you know, I get that, you know, he has that adrenaline rush. He's ready to, you know, put his body on the line to do the job. And, you know, I would like another another backup that has a similar playing mentality to him also. For me, I'm quite happy with the midfield in general. I really like the look of McCowan. I think I agree with you, Mark. He's not getting enough time to shine and show his stuff. But from what I've seen, I've been really impressed by him. I do. Thank you, love it. I do believe that Engels will be good. He is warming up. I'm not a very patient person, but I do wholeheartedly believe that we need to give him time. I would also like to get another left winger. For me, Pam is just not cutting it. I'm sorry. He's not. And, you know, I would like a replacement for my age also, because, you know, I know he got injured once last season and he healed very quickly, but I would like some coverage there. And, you know, maybe something a little bit different too, because I think, you know, people have sussed how we play. And I think that's another reason why we're starting to, you know, our progress is starting to slow down a bit, is because people, you know, other teams know how we play. So I think we also kind of need to switch it up a little bit. If you bring in some different players, some different dynamics, and even just these three positions, you know, that can change things and disorientate other teams, I think.
Oh, you're quite right. You know, sometimes it can be a case of somebody performing better in the system rather than changing the system altogether. But given the opposition more to think about, it's probably a good thing to do, especially this time of year. I always say when you get to play a team after Christmas and it's like the third time you've played them that season, the manager knows roughly how you're going to play. He's whether he can stop that from happening or no is a different matter, but they know how you're going to play, Pam, and they're going to set up to, you know, stifle your strengths, you know what I mean, and then obviously attack your weak spots as well. And I do feel like you're right. I think a winger for me is a priority as well. I feel like I think we're gasping every time that somebody goes down. You know, I mean, for us to have only Maeda and Kuhn as viable options, and then a 33 or 34-year-old James Forrest is the only backup. I mean, you can bring in Yang and Palm all you want. They two are spoofers. They don't belong in Celtic shirts. Let's be honest. They've found a tracksuit and just come in the stadium and get away with it. I just don't know who they two. Who brought the people to Celtic? They're a pair of fucking dumplings, to be honest with you. Mick, what about you, mate? I mean, surely you must have an opinion on this. What are you seeing that Celtic are they getting at the players we've got? Is there somebody in mind that you think Celtic could be snapping up, or is it just some position that you feel like Celtic need to address before injuries, suspensions, and fatigue sets in? What's your thoughts on that, mate?
Well, I'm definitely all in. We need a winger or two, even. Right, generally, Aida's been excellent for us. But as Pam said, he's never going to change. He plays it one way and that's it. And once you kind of suss that out, then he's quite one-dimensional, if you know what I mean. Love us to sign somebody, a creative winger. Don't get it wrong, I hear all the Jota stories, and as much as that would be good, I don't see it happening. But
no,
somebody like that has got a good dribbling ability, he's quick, and will go at players and give us something different in the final third. And he's got a good final ball. That'd be what I'd be looking at. In terms of anybody else, I think we could do it with them or our striker, to be honest.
Yeah.
I do think so. I don't think, as much as I love Kyogo, I don't think he's been the same. It's maybe the last year, 18 months. It looks as if he's lost a yard and he's lost a bit of confidence as well. And Ida, I like Ida, but sometimes you ever seen a football before where he tries to his first touch and stuff, he tries to control the ball, right? So it's something a bit different. And I think you always need 3 strikers anyway, I think, just as a base rule, just for competition. Well, you said, Mark, but yeah, I would go for 2 wingers. When it's going to happen in January, I'm kind of sceptical, but I think that's what we need is 2 wingers, because like you said, like Forrest is 34, right? And I like Forrest. I do really like him. He's done it a ton, obviously, 100 goals, 100 assists, right? But he's getting to that stage and he's going to pick up injuries and be out. Fair enough, that happens. But I called it this last summer. Palmer, he just doesn't do it for me. Like, he's hopeless. And we had this argument last summer, what if he changed position and play him in number 10? But we should change our system because he's not good enough to win. That's the way we play. If you can't play it, then he shouldn't be there. In the same way Yang can flat to deceive. Sometimes he looks half decent when he's running the ball, then goes to hit a cross or a pass, so he's absolutely hopeless. He's just no ball. You know?
Yeah, I agree. I think you're better off with Kim and Aggie than they two. Honestly, they two are just a pair of dumplings, you know what I mean? And this is it, you know, like, there is players who we've got a good core of players in the squad, you know what I mean? But the thing is, when you're successful, players will fall by the wayside, and Celtic will need to improve on some of these players. And I seen we've let go of one tonight potentially. Stephen Welsh is going to, I think it's Michelin on loan. He's travelled over just now to take a tour or whatever. I think it's Michelin. I could be wrong. And for me, that's one that I think we should be looking at, these kind of deals to get some of these players off the books for at least to free up squad space. And we brought in Dane Murray back to Queen's Park. So we're filled the Scottish quota. What's your thoughts on Celtic's handling of players within the squad, Pam? Do you feel like Celtic are loaning out players quick enough and releasing players who aren't cutting the mustard? Are we holding on to these players for too long? For example, Palmer, you know, we're asking for £4 million a day to get rid of him, and the teams are offering 3.5 and 3 3/4. And do you feel like we're trying to hold on to these players just for the sake of making a quick buck rather than the bigger picture? When you look at guys like Bernabe, 5.6 million, you know, I mean, God, that's some deal, but you're not always going to get them. Sometimes you've got to just cut your losses, try and make what you can, but no hold on to a player for another 6 months just for cutting your nose off to spite your face. And I think Stephen Welsh falls into the category where he's never going to be a Celtic player, in my opinion, long term. We have to find a club who's going to take him, but also I think you've got to make a decision on the guy. If he's not going to be part of the team, you need to find an avenue for this guy to get out of Celtic, and some of these loans should include options to buy. And is that something that you think about at Celtic? Is it how we use the loan market for outgoings, or do you just trust Celtic to make these decisions correctly?
I don't trust Celtic to make correct and efficient decisions. Just putting that out there in general. No, I've had a big problem with the amount of, you know, players, you know, I hate to say this, but like Deadwood, because they keep them on the books, but they don't use them. Like when I was looking back at last summer, I hadn't heard of 1 or 2 players. That's how bad it got. I was like, who is this person? I've never seen them. So yeah, I do. I understand, you know, the mechanics of, you know, wait until their value's gone up to the highest point and then you sell them. But you also have to look at the cost of keeping them on the books. They're not getting you any return because they're not playing. They're not playing in games.
And it's like an old car sitting in your garage getting rusty. You know, exactly. You're not going to... the potential for guys like Stephen Welsh, based on limited game time, has gone. You know what I mean? Exactly. If there's clubs interested in Stephen Welsh's performances, maybe last season or the season before, or what he can do, he's going to get less and less game time. So while he's fresh on the mind, we should be making these kind of deals. And the same goes for guys like Odin Thiago Home.
Yeah.
Stupid name. And guys like that out. And you mentioned Ralston earlier on, Pam.
Yeah.
Ralston, for me, his strengths are as an attacking fullback. I think that's probably his biggest strengths. And we loaned him out to St Johnstone, a defensive team. So things like that annoy me. But you're not going to get the best of these players.
There's no strategy behind it. Yeah.
Yeah. And do you feel that Celtic are actually... I think more of my question would be like, probably phrased it wrong. Do you feel like Celtic are giving the players the right opportunity to move on, or do you feel like we're holding these players back, like some, you know, ex who's not about to let you go?
I think their priority is money, so they're going to look at what's the best, you know, what's going to get the most money, and I think that trumps the idea that this move might be better for him in the long run. I think it would be much more smarter to say if you had a player that played a particular style, you loan him out for a year to a team that would strengthen that style because they play the same way. You know, you get like a couple million less, but when you get him back after a year, He's a strong player that, you know, is reliable in the starting 11. He can win you games in Europe and you earn back that deficit. That's the approach I would take, because ultimately those mini investments, they're not financial, but they're still investments in the player's performance and growth. They will pay off, you know. But if you want cheap and easy money, then you're just it's gonna end badly. It's gonna just be very inefficient as well in the long run, and it's gonna put you back to square one.
You're going to depreciate the value of these players. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
There was probably a time where you can get a bit more from them financially rather than keep a hold of them to try and find the perfect deal. When I think sometimes you can keep a hold of these players for too long. And Brendan Rodgers, I think, likes a 26, 27 man squad, and you've got a squad that's maybe carrying 8-9 passengers who will receive literally none game time. I think it's important that you get rid of these players to bring in the quality needed and start pushing the level higher. Your first 11 players this season, some should be your reserve players the following season, and I think that's how you progress as a club. Somebody just quickly asked, I can barely read these things, but how's Barrowfield coming along? Well, I can see it every day. It's the structure's there, it's all built, it's fine. The pitches are laid. I think there's games being played on it as we speak. There's games being played. I think the wee huts at the side for the changing rooms, they're not quite ready yet, and there's the groundwork, but it's coming along really well. I'd say it's probably, well, it's supposed to be done in January, end of January. That was I'd say it's probably 80% finished. I think Mick, I don't know if Mick walks past that way if he goes to the Celtic supporters club for a pint before the match. He'll probably know the end's a bit better than me, but for what I can see, I can hear for work, etc., it's looking pretty good. Mick, what about you? I mean, is there anything that you feel like Celtic are missing out on in this window? Is there anything that's popped up in your timeline, the players that are coming out of contract that you see this time of year who could potentially bring a new dynamic to Celtic? For instance, I think a Ronaldo type, you know, who's free, you know, is there somebody who can potentially bring Celtic to the next level at an older age, but who maybe is a bit unrealistic, but Celtic could potentially bring in?
I don't know, mate. I saw a couple of stories. I don't think there's any foundation there, but that Evan Ferguson for Brighton was up for going on loan apparently.
Right.
But he was highly rated maybe 2 years ago. He's like supposed to be the next big thing. And in England, obviously, he's already sitting in Arsenal, but there was a lot of big talk about him 2 years ago, but apparently Brighton are willing to loan him out. So maybe even for an option for the last part of the season, bring him in, and that could be a third striker. And he's obviously got a bit of quality about him. He highly spoke of maybe 2 years ago.
What about the boy who's just come back for St. Pat's? Is it Johnny Kenny? What about him? Have you seen much of him? Is there anything you saw in him that looks different to what Ida and Kyogo's offered to do?
He looks directed. He's quick. He's very quick, and he's got good movement behind the defenders, and he pulls into channels well. So I think he will be an option.
Very composed, isn't he?
Yeah.
He's very composed, isn't he? Going through one-on-one, I noticed that.
He's a good finisher. So
would you bring him in? Forget about the level of Irish football. He scored goals in the Conference League, which is higher level, you know, in terms of Scottish football. Would you potentially bring him into the squad just now and bring him into the on the bench just now, or do you feel like it's a step too far for that guy just now?
I'd definitely have a look at him for a few weeks between now and January, and then he can obviously make a decision on how he's been played in training and stuff like that, and if he's looking sharp, if he's looking as if he can blend into the team. I would definitely give him to the end of January and impress, and then by all means, he's our player. So if you want to include my match day squad and bring him on for maybe 20 minutes when the game's potentially won, then you can judge it from there, see how he gets on and stuff. But I would definitely have a look at him, because I've seen him a couple of times. I've seen a few of his goals in the Conference League, and as you said, Mark, he looks composed, and he's really quick off the mark as well, which is something we have not really got up front. So it's a different option again. So it's definitely worth a look at, I think.
Well, I think you're right, mate. I mean, we're saying just now that Ida gives you something and Kyogo gives you something else on their day. But I think this guy gives you something different, like a kind of third option. Not a third option for a third option's sake. Just a different option altogether. You know, a different type of player. And this is what we could be doing with potentially just now. As Pam mentioned earlier on, teams start to suss you out, so you need some sort of new, different dynamic, different spark to you. This could be the answer for that, you know what I mean? That bring him in. If he's raw, he's raw. We've all seen what happens when you bring in raw players and surround them by excellent talent. You know what I mean? They'll all thrive eventually. And there's the young boy in the B team, Cummings. He's getting praise over Europe. You know what I mean? There's teams looking at him. He's due to expire his contract any month now, and these are the kind of guys who you should be bringing into the squad and seeing what they can do. Maybe they're not at the level just yet, but again, that squad and team management that maybe that either they're not up to the level yet, or Celtic aren't prepared to gamble on at this stage in the season when it's still there to be lost and won. You know what I mean? What about you, Pam? Did you notice was the world melting down? Was Washington DC concerned about Celtic's form, or was it just a Daily Record last Thursday?
I haven't heard anything here so far, but you never know. People could be looking for an escape.
I seen the Daily Record was saying that the world was concerned about Celtic's form after getting beat after Rangers. And
no, that's shit over here.
No, I was just wondering because I thought it was maybe breaking news that Celtic had get a goal chopped off. Rangers won a match 3-0. Just double checking. You know what I mean?
Never know.
No,
I wonder. I just had to have a laugh at some of the comments. You know what I mean?
No.
I might have to talk about Rangers if I can. I just the fallout for that match. Okay, it was red rotten. You know what I mean? It was absolutely red rotten to watch Saturday there, and we all know my dad thinks it's one of the worst he's ever seen. That's his opinion. But I think some of the hyperbole in this country after it was unreal. You know what I mean? It was like, there's folk talking about the championship race being back on and back half again, and out, shake it all about. It's every time that mob get a result, it is just it's hard to bear. You know what I mean? And I think Thursday was just typifying that. I come into work on Friday or whatever it was, Friday, and I get folk who don't even watch football want to come and see me about green paper being in the photocopy and all the rest of it, and I'm like, oh my fucking god, away you go. But funny enough, this morning there were nobody to be seen. You know what I mean? They were all quiet, and this is the thing. You're gonna get Muppets like that in the Rangers support. You know what I mean? They're gonna wind themselves up into a frenzy. And say for you, Mick, I mean, you live amongst the goldfish bowl that is Glasgow. You know what I mean? You must have been getting a lot of texts on Friday morning that you didn't receive yesterday morning. This morning, is that right?
Exactly, mate. And it's a vote you never hear from. You know what I mean? They be surface out of nowhere, and they want to get in touch with you and talk about the game and everything. So, peace. The thing is, Mark, they never ever learn.
No,
they follow the same pattern every time. So they beat us once, right? Don't know. I think we were shocking the Thursday night. That's another different argument. But forget they won and they're still 11 points behind. 11 points at the start of January. So you mean, and you think they're on the verge of winning the league the way they were talking after it? Well, it's laughable, honestly. You just do you never ever learn as a support?
Well, the media were kind of spinning this like, how can we not do this more often? As if that's what wins you the league. No. Having a better group of players, having a better standard throughout the full squad, and doing it week in, week out is what wins you the league. No showing up on a Thursday afternoon randomly and putting 3 past Celtic every 3 or 4 seasons. You know what I mean? It's not as simple as that, and these folk will never learn. As long as there's guys like Keith Jackson in the press, Ian Crocker and Sky Sports having a heart attack every time he just got a corner kick, these folk will never ever learn. You know what I mean? And I love it. I mean, I do laugh. I get a bit annoyed sometimes, but at the end of the day, you know they're going to fuck up again somewhere. You know what I mean? There was folks saying Friday morning that I'll be a big laugh until Sunday afternoon when they get beat after Hibs, and I didn't think they got that points against Hibs. I just thought they're not as good as what they even think they are. You know what I mean? And I think there's always the ability within that mob to totally fuck it up with their own mouth. You know what I mean? And they'll do it time after time. And Nuagaman's the best player in the league, and Raskin's the best player outside Real Madrid. Clement's going to grow his hair back tomorrow. You name it. The pitch they all talk is just off the scale. And I'll leave that here. Just any final points, Pam, before we switch this madcap rollercoaster off?
I think, look, even with all the commotion the past week, I'm not panicking. Look, little lulls like this happen. It's like when you're studying for an exam, you're going full on study for like a couple of weeks before the exam. You're not going to keep waking up early after you finish the exam. You're going to have to level off at some stage. So it's just natural. So I'm not panicking.
Perfect. Mick, what about you? What's your final say on Celtic this week? Any you want to hit it with?
I think we can extend the league again Wednesday, mate. Night, sorry, because they've got Dundee away, and I think they've won 4 games out of like 18 in the last 8 games. I'm sure I read a stat like that.
Their away form is pretty poor, mate. Aye.
So we're at Dundee. We're at home. So watch this space. I think they'll drop points again on Wednesday. Well, see how we'll try and spin that in the daily record.
Right. On that prediction, we'll say good night to all the viewers. Thanks for watching, guys. Don't forget, like, subscribe, share, slag Bhoycie's hair, whatever. Do my neighbour's dogs in. Any what a day you can do, right? Anyway, thanks very much for watching, guys. It was a kind of ad hoc show. We might make it a wee regular thing if these guys are up for it. That, of course, unless Pam's got an appointment with our new neighbour, Donald Trump, at the end of the month. Thanks very much for tuning in, guys. Take care and Mono Celtic.